Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cassie if you haven't seen me before, and I am going to be talking about some pros and cons of being on the Omnipod 5 today. Spoiler alert, being on the Omnipod 5 is one of the best decisions I have ever made. For reference, I've had diabetes for almost 16 years. My anniversary is in February, so it's coming up. So I've had this disease for the majority of my life. I've been on numerous different pumps, from the old Medtronic, like you could pick any color kind of pump. I don't even know what version it was, to MDI for a very long time. And now I am on the Omnipod 5. I started on the Omnipod 5 about a year and a half ago. It was October of 2023. And I had just decided that I needed some more structure in my life. Let's go through some pros of being on the Omnipod 5. Structured flexibility with the Omnipod 5 is amazing. I absolutely love that I do not have to bring around my insulin pens with me. I just have my insulin in my pod and it's just there and it's doing everything for me. The Omnipod 5 has automated mode, which means that it's pretty much thinking for you. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of diabetes. It knows your range and your boundaries and it tries to keep you within those bounds, which is super, super helpful. Especially as a woman with type 1 diabetes. If you're a woman, you know that throughout your cycle of the month, your insulin needs change. And I feel like the Omnipod 5 is able to keep myself within those boundaries when my insulin resistance is a little bit higher throughout the month. It keeps myself in those bounds a lot better than I could do myself with multiple daily injections. More flexibility and more structure means that I can actually have more control over my blood sugars. And in fact, my A1C is the lowest it has ever been. I just got my A1C tested about a month and a half ago and it was 5.9. 5.9, that is crazy. I have not in my 16 years of diabetes seen my A1C be below like a high 6, low 7. So that was astonishing to me. I was so excited and I really truly owe it to the Omnipod 5. One of my favorite things about the Omnipod 5 is activity mode. It is amazing and it is pretty much the only reason why I can work out and stay within my targeted blood sugar ranges. Basically what it does is it raises your target blood sugar to, I think it's 150. Activity mode has saved my life on so many occasions. When I know I'm going to be out walking around in New York City for long periods of time, I'm turning it on. Before a workout, I'm turning it on. And it's so amazing. I used to get so frustrated with injections because once you put your insulin in, it's not like you can take it out. So I would have so much insulin on board and I wouldn't really know how much was on board because I'm not a calculator. So there was no way of knowing how much insulin I had put in before a workout or how much I had on board, versus the Omnipod 5 can show you that and it tells you that, and when you turn on activity mode you can see how much insulin you have on board and it just keeps you within the bounds so much better, and it really just, it does all the calculations and everything for you, which is so nice. Around November, Omnipod 5 also came out with the iPhone app, which has been amazing. There have been some issues with the app that I've noticed, and I think that's just because it's brand new, but I've noticed that as the app updates and as they come out with new versions, it's gotten better, less bugs and less errors and things like that. However, I love being able to see my Dexcom and my Omnipod 5 on my phone and not have to bring another device around. It's absolutely iconic. If you're a woman, you know that when you want to carry a small purse and you have to bring another device around, it's not going to work. Having it all in one place on my phone is iconic. I'm actually obsessed. I also love that the Omnipod 5 is tubeless. I know for some people they're like, oh, it's kind of bulky, like it sticks out. But I think it's very beneficial. It just goes on underneath my clothes or wherever I'm wearing it, and I really don't have a problem with it. It's only about an inch thicker than my Dexcom, so it doesn't really bother me. I would love if it could be slimmer, but I understand that I don't really know how the pod would function without so many things inside of it. So it really doesn't bother me. And I like having it tubeless because the tubes don't get stuck on anything. I just remember when I was on a Medtronic pump, always yanking my tubes on something, pulling out my site, and I really haven't had that many issues with my actual site not working, which I always remember having that problem with a tubed pump. Literally in all the pod changes that I've done in a year and a half, I think I've had 3 or 4 pod failures. Knock on wood, because I just definitely jinxed myself. Okay, let's get into some cons about the Omnipod 5. Just like any device, it is not perfect. There are definitely things that I would love if Omnipod would update, fix, change, etc. So let's talk about it. And I will say, this is with all pumps, is that if you're out somewhere or even at home and it's not working and you're not getting insulin for hours at a time, it's really hard to get your blood sugar down. I don't remember having so many like skyrocket highs whenever I was on MDI, because I was just putting in more insulin myself, and that was kind of like that self-management. However, it's hard to know if you have a site with a kink in it, or the pump is just not functioning correctly, or something like that, and it's climbing over time, and you're putting in insulin, but you don't know if that insulin's going in, and you don't know how much insulin is on board, because your pump is telling you that there's insulin on board, but you know there's not because your blood sugar is going high. Yeah, that has happened before. I had the privilege of going to Spain in September, which was an amazing time, but when you travel, obviously you have to update your settings and change around what you're working with, because it was a 6-hour time difference, which means I needed different amounts of insulin at different times than I'm used to. So in an effort to kind of ease my body into being 6 hours ahead, I did not change the timing of when I was getting insulin and when my alarms were going off with my Dexcom. So we had a dilemma where during the day I don't have my like high alarms on loud, because I work and have meetings and things like that. So I'm awake and I'm able to control how high my blood sugar is by myself, so I don't feel like I need to have those alarms. So in this incident, I ended up not changing my pump settings, and they were still on American time zone, but I was in Spain. Ended up going to sleep after a night of sangria and having a great time, and I ended up knocking my site off just a little bit, but I had no idea until I woke up in the morning. And since my alarms were on American time, it wasn't alerting me in the middle of the night that like my blood sugar was high, so I ended up skyrocketing to 400, almost 500, and just staying there because I hadn't gotten insulin for hours in my sleep. You don't have any long-acting insulin in your body with the pump, so there's nothing to kind of save you from going that high, because your basal is with short-acting insulin every hour. So in that incident, my blood sugar was super high and it was very hard to get down. I always bring backup pens with me, so like it turned out fine, obviously. But it is one of those things that you have to be careful with. Really, the only other thing I'd consider a con is that the pumps do fail. Like I was saying, just like any device, it is not perfect. I have had some site failures that result in high blood sugars, and that can be very frustrating, especially if you are out and about somewhere, or you're in a place that's just not convenient, or it's not advantageous to have a site failure. So originally I said cons plural, but really that is my only con. I absolutely love the Omnipod 5, and I would recommend it to anybody who needs better control of their diabetes. I think it's amazing for type 1 diabetics who need a bit more structure in their life, and are looking for something that is going to take some of the guesswork out of diabetes. I find that the Omnipod 5 is super user-friendly. I love being able to control it from my phone. If I'm just going on my phone, it's very discreet, and I love that. And just having my Dexcom and my Omnipod be able to talk to each other and have everything on my phone is amazing. I think one of the things that I would love if Omnipod 5 did and Dexcom did was maybe team up so that it could just be one app. I don't know if that's possible. I know they're two different companies, but just being able to have it that integrated would just be absolutely incredible. Overall, my time in range has gone up, my A1C has gone down, and I'm just very excited to see what other developments Omnipod and Dexcom come out with, and continue to see the developments for type 1 diabetics. If you have any questions about the Omnipod 5 and my personal experience with it, please comment down below. I would love to answer your questions. Obviously, as with anything about type 1 diabetes, I am not a doctor. I do not have any sort of certifications. This is all based off of my personal experience, having had type 1 for 16 years. So take everything with a grain of salt. If you don't agree with what I said, that is fine. I'm just here to offer you a perspective of somebody who loves it and would literally recommend it to anybody at really any age. All right, thank you guys for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Mwah. Bye.